Well, here's an opportunity for us to measure our progress. When we wrote our strategic plan in 2018, and then we updated it in 2021, we set out 10 objectives, 10 metrics that we wanted to track to see how well we were doing. And in some cases, very obvious things. You'll see it in just a minute. It's the size of the student body, size of the research portfolio, size of the endowment, things like that. But I always hasten to add that not everything that's important can be measured. And so this isn't everything that measures our progress. But if you take the 10 metrics, it'll give you a pretty good snapshot of how we're doing at UTD. So without further ado, let me jump in on the first slide. So this slide shows our undergraduate and graduate enrollment. These are very good numbers. If you add the two together, this would be very impressive. I mean, they're impressive individually and added together. And in fact, in the time that I've been president at UT Dallas, according to the Chronicle of Higher Education, we've been anywhere from the sixth to the second fastest growing university in the nation. So, these numbers are not seen at many other universities. So we've done very well. You can see that we had a little bit of a COVID dip in academic year 21, so that would have been the fall of 20 into the spring of 21, and pretty much everybody did. And we also had a little bit of a dip from last year to this year. It's very minor, but still we're keeping an eye on it. It's important for us to be the best choice for all of those smart men and women who want to get an education. And to a very large extent, we are winning that contest. So I've been very happy with these numbers. Our targets are a tad higher than what you see, but I think as UT Dallas's reputation continues to grow, we should hit those targets. So again, this is good news. Doctoral graduates, this is a very interesting chart. What you can't really see is if you were to look leftward back prior to academic year 17 is that year after year after year, we graduated right around 200 doctoral students. And it was interesting. We've always wanted to get it up and higher, but the only way to do it is to actually admit more than 200 doctoral students, which for the longest time we weren't doing. And so we made a concerted effort to grow the graduate ranks, and that includes the audiology degree, which is an important component of our graduate education. And it jumped up almost immediately to about 251, and it sort of stayed 250 to 260 for quite some time. The important thing to note here is that you can't just change the numbers overnight because it takes 4, 5, 6 years to get a doctoral degree. But we've done some very good things at the front end. So we're enrolling some very capable students, good numbers of doctoral students, and I believe that we're going to see that number, jump from 260, make another step upward very soon, and I think we're going to get pretty close, if not above, our 275 target. First time in college cohort, this is another good news chart. So back when we wrote the strategic plan, we wanted to get sort of the entering number of first-year students up over 3,900. And we did that almost immediately. So in fact, we've been over 4,000 ever since academic year 20, with one exception, again, the COVID year. But you can see very good numbers. And as I mentioned before, the students that are choosing to come to UTD have many, many excellent choices all around the country, across Texas, public and private. But to an ever-increasing extent, they are choosing to come to UTD. And we're really, really proud of them and proud of that. So here you see academic space. This is important. I will say that the growth in the student population is what's happening fastest at UTD. Everything is growing, but we have to work very hard to make sure that we don't let things get out of balance. We don't want our student-to-teacher ratio to get too high, but that includes things like student-to-classroom seat ratio. And so we've done a very good job putting up new buildings. I'm sure you've seen all of the cranes all around campus. Some might be wondering how it is we dropped off a little bit from academic year 23 to 24. And that's because we had some old wooden one-story buildings that just weren't suitable anymore for holding classes. So we took them offline. But we're opening up yet other buildings. In fact, we opened up a shared building with UT Southwestern last fall. The first building of our Arts and Performance Complex, or Athenaeum, will open this summer. We're beginning construction now on an absolutely enormous building, a combined student union and student success center, We're also building out the current student union for an esports arena, and we're going to have an expansion of JSOM. So JSOM will go from 2 major buildings to 3. And so again, we've seen some really good expansion at UTD and a lot more to come. So we're in a very significant growth mode right now. So things look really good for UTD. Here you see the tenure system faculty, or tenure track faculty. This is a chart that's not unlike what we saw with the doctoral graduates, in that the number just went sideways for a long time, and we were making efforts to try to get that number up from about 560, 570 up to 625. And I'll be frank, we didn't make much progress. Part of that was a slowdown during COVID, which interrupted some plans that we had to grow the faculty. But we made a concerted effort a little over a year ago to have a significant growth in the faculty. In fact, we've targeted an increase of 70 tenure track lines over the space of 2 years. And you can see that we had great success last year. Very significant jump up. And people should appreciate how hard it is to do that, because when we recruit faculty, we are recruiting them from all corners of the U.S. And we're competing with pretty much every other, good Carnegie R1 university in the U.S. So a highly competitive environment, but we had terrific success last year. And we're well into the recruiting season this year, and it looks good. And I'm absolutely convinced that we'll be up and over that 625 number at the start of the next academic year. So this is very good news for UTD. Federal research expenditures, another good news chart. Here's a chart where you do not see a COVID dip. And I'm really proud of all of the researchers here at UT Dallas and the leadership from Vice President Joe Pancrazio and Provost Inga Musselman and others, all of our deans. So even in the worst of COVID, we were able to keep our labs up and running. Now, they might have been de-densified. People would come in only every third day or so, but we could still write proposals. We could still write up our results. We could still collect data. And we did. And you see very significant increases. We've also landed some very sizable new grants. So we came just a couple $100,000 shy of our target of $65 million. This is at the start, at the start of academic year 24, and we're projecting that will be at no less than $72 million. This is in federal research expenditures when this academic year ends. So again, this is just great news and opportunity for me to just thank all of our faculty and our researchers, our graduate students, our undergraduate students who do a lot of the work. Good news here in terms of our research portfolio. Here you see our 4-year and 6-year graduation rates. I'm very pleased with these numbers. We always like them to be a little higher. We're pretty much at our targets, so that's good news, but no need to stop there. We can always go higher. And so if I look over at academic year 24, the way you read that chart is that for students who started 4 years prior, 63% had graduated, so roughly 2/3. For those who had started 6 years earlier, 75% or 3/4 had graduated. And I point out that, look at the 75%. That doesn't mean that 25% did not get a degree. In fact, a good number of them might have transferred to another good university and then finished there. Likewise, we also have students who transfer into UTD and then finish here. So these numbers stand in the top 3 in the state among public universities. I'll let you figure out who the other 2 are. But again, we really have excellent graduation numbers compared to most any public university, both inside and outside of Texas. Again, we're very pleased with these numbers. And our endowment, another good news chart. So the endowment's been growing at a pretty good clip. You see a pretty good jump up between academic year 21 and 22, and that's when we started our comprehensive campaign, the New Dimensions campaign. So we've done very, very well. We have a great many friends in and around the Metroplex and across Texas and even outside of Texas. And of course, a growing and generous alumni body. So our target has been $800 million. We started the academic year at $792, so we were almost there. And I'm pleased to say that as of January, we have been up and over the $800 million. So we've hit our target. And again, I expect good things to come. As you can see, the stock market sort of gives and takes away, so there may be some fluctuations as we go forward. But again, we're doing very well in the campaign, and the economy is doing well. So we have every reason to think that endowment number will stay very, very strong forever. So we're in good shape there. So that gives you a little overview on how we're doing at UT Dallas. As I said earlier, it's not everything that's important, but it's a lot that's important, and we're awfully happy. I like to say in certain audiences that not everybody is obligated to send their tuition dollars to a particular university, but to an ever-increasing extent, students are choosing to come here, and seek their education at UT Dallas. And in another arena, no one is obligated to send research dollars to UT Dallas. There's plenty of good competitors out there, but to an ever-increasing extent, people are choosing to invest in the research at UTD. So it puts us in very good stead. It reflects so well on all of the faculty, staff, and students of UT Dallas. So again, we're very happy with what we see in these 10 metrics.